This video is brought to you by Squarespace. There's a moment every collector knows. You get that email notification. A new deluxe edition has been announced. And before you know it, you're already deciding where it's going to fit on the shelf. We love box sets. The weight of them, the smell of fresh print, the ritual of lifting the lid for the first time. But let's be honest, how many of these box sets do we actually listen to? Are they really musical experiences, or have they become something else entirely? Trophies, symbols of fandom, maybe even just furniture. I'm Andrew from Parlogram, and in this video, we're exploring something many collectors quietly grapple with. Do we really listen to our box sets, or mostly just collect them? Box sets didn't just appear one day. Their roots go back to the earliest days of recorded music, when albums were literally albums. Bound books of 78 RPM discs that looked more like encyclopedias, just like this Beethoven album, which dates from 1932. But the modern box set, the one we recognise today, really took off with the arrival of the compact disc. Suddenly, you could gather an artist's complete works, outtakes and all, into a manageable package. It was the beginning of what some people call the first golden age of reissues. The 1990s pushed that even further. Vaults were opened, tapes were rediscovered, and labels realised that fans were willing to pay for depth, context, and unreleased material. Some of the best archival sets ever produced came from that era. And now in the 2020s, we're experiencing another surge, supported by better restoration technology, renewed interest in physical media, and perhaps a growing sense that the artists we love won't be around forever. It's easy to see why box sets became the ultimate collector's format. A well-made box set is a time machine. It's not just music, it's the story around the music. The photos, the essays, the studio notes, the sense that you're peeking behind the curtain. There's the tactile side too. Opening a box set can feel like an event, and when they're done well, they can be incredibly rewarding. And some sets really do it right. The Beatles Mono Box on CD, and especially vinyl, remains one of the gold standards, and is one of the rare cases where a modern reissue truly surpasses expectations, and is one of the box sets I return to all the time. Collections like the Beatles Anthology, the Dylan Bootleg series, Smile Sessions, or Dark Side of the Moon offer real insight into how the music was made and how it evolved. Those releases earn replay value because they deepen your understanding. But not all box sets manage that. If we're honest, the pattern for many of them looks like this. The excited unboxing, the first disc played, a quick skim through the extras, and then back on the shelf, sometimes for years. Life gets busy, and bonus tracks don't always demand repeat listening, and sometimes even the main album is easier streamed from your phone. Collectors describe a similar experience. After years of accumulating sets, they realize how few they actually revisit. That's not laziness, it's the format. Box sets often front-load the excitement. The extras are fascinating once or twice, but they don't always provide the emotional pull that keeps you coming back. When we were younger, we might have played Revolver until the grooves wore down. Now we hop between remasters, playlists, surround mixes, and alternates. It's wonderful, but it also means nothing has the chance to become familiar in the same way. Now, let's look at something that has become increasingly important in the box set conversation: value. Collectors, myself included, love the idea of a definitive edition, the feeling of completeness. But across the collector community, you can sense a shift. People are beginning to ask whether box sets actually justify their price. Some sets offer tremendous value: careful remastering, meaningful unreleased material, substantial books, thoughtful presentation. The Beatles Mono Box we mentioned earlier is a perfect example. The Beach Boys' Smile Sessions is another case where the vault material isn't just extra, it actually tells a story of a masterpiece that never was. Others feel more like oversized packages wrapped around familiar content. There's nothing worse than paying a premium price for a box that contains a remaster you already own, plus a handful of demos you'll only listen to once. The Beatles 2012 stereo vinyl box was as disappointing as the mono was great. The inconsistent pressing quality and the use of digital sources left many fans underwhelmed. For me, the one truly great box set the Beatles still have left in them is an all-analog stereo set of the albums. I just hope I live long enough to see it. Before we go any further, a quick word about the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. A big part of what I do involves organizing huge amounts of information. Squarespace makes it incredibly easy to turn all of that into a clean, professional-looking website without needing any technical skills at all. I can build gallery pages for collections, long-form articles, archive pages, and project sections using their simple but state-of-the-art drag-and-drop tools. And everything still looks beautifully designed and works perfectly across desktop and mobile. They also have Blueprint AI, which can generate a complete website structure for you just by answering a few simple questions. So, if you're thinking about creating a digital home for your collection, your research, or your creative work, head to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Parlogram to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. For many collectors, that's when the rethink begins. Not just, do I have space for this, but is this worth what I paid? This ties into something my friend Steve Westman raised recently, when he asked whether we're living through a golden age of reissues. And in many ways, we might be. Technology is better than ever. Labels can demix tapes, restore lost material, and present classic albums in ways that simply weren't possible until recently. But with that boom comes inconsistency. Some releases genuinely earn their place with thoughtful curation and fair pricing. Others feel more like obligation, anniversary products created because the calendar demands it, rather than because there's something new to say. You can think of box sets in value categories. There are excellent value sets, where the content justifies the cost and the extras genuinely enhance the listening experience. There are adequate but forgettable ones, enjoyable for a moment but unlikely to be revisited. And there are poor value sets, where the price is high but the new content is thin or the mastering is questionable. And increasingly, collectors are spotting patterns. When a box includes genuinely illuminating extras, like the Isha demos on the White Album box set, you feel closer to the music. But when a box repeats material we've already bought, sometimes twice, that's when the enthusiasm fades. And interestingly, value doesn't always correlate with size. A small 3-disc set can sometimes offer far more long-term enjoyment than a giant 12-disc Super Deluxe tower. Value also relates to sound quality. For many of us, that's one of the main reasons to buy a box set in the first place. When a set offers a genuinely improved listening experience, whether that's an all-analog vinyl cut, a well-judged remix, or a beautifully restored tape, it becomes a meaningful upgrade. But when sound is compromised, when tapes are poorly transferred or EQ choices are harsh, it can undermine the entire purpose of the release. Some box sets have been praised for transforming how we hear classic albums. Others have been criticized for sounding worse than older editions. For collectors, that's not just disappointing, it feels like a broken promise. Beyond the technical aspects, the psychology of collecting plays a huge part. Collectors love completeness. We love knowing we have the version with the extra booklet, the bonus disc, or the exclusive colour. There's a joy in the pursuit, the hunt for the missing piece, but collecting also taps into the scarcity and fear of missing out. Limited editions create urgency. Even if we know deep down that a reissue might come later, we don't want to be the one who missed out, and once a collection begins to grow, it becomes part of our identity. Shelves of box sets aren't just storage. They're a visual autobiography of our taste and our history with the music. Generational differences are also interesting here. Older collectors lived through periods where owning the physical album was the only way to hear the music. The connection between the object and the sound was inseparable. Younger listeners, who grew up with streaming, often discover physical media later and with fresh enthusiasm. For some of them, deluxe vinyl sets or anniversary editions are their entry point to older artists. Meanwhile, long-time collectors can feel fatigued or priced out. It raises the question, who are these box sets being made for? And is the audience changing? As collectors, we eventually begin to ask what actually makes a box set essential. For me, it comes down to a few things. Does it improve my understanding of the music? Does it sound better than what I already own? Does the extra content deepen the story, or does it simply pad out the package? Is the book substantial, or is it pictures I'll flip through just once? And crucially, will I return to it? Because that's the test the great Beatles sets pass. The Mono Box, the White Album box, Revolver, those aren't items you enjoy once. They're sets you live with, and very few modern box sets manage that. When box sets succeed, they become more than products. They preserve music history. They let us hear works in progress, creative decisions, moments of discovery and doubt. They give us insight into how the artists thought, worked and changed over time. Good box sets reward listening in ways that streaming playlists simply can't. But when they fail, when the content doesn't match the price or the presentation outweighs the substance, that's when they quietly turn into furniture. Impressive on the shelf, but rarely touched. All of this raises the question of the future. Are we approaching peak box set? There are signs that we might be. The vaults are finite, the number of unheard outtakes is shrinking. Younger generations aren't guaranteed to value physical media in the same way. Environmental concerns about packaging are growing, and the rise of digital deluxe editions suggests that the industry is experimenting with replacement formats. But at the same time, technology is unlocking new ways of hearing old music. Demixing, AI-assisted restoration, and high-resolution formats mean we may still have years of fascinating releases ahead. And so perhaps the more relevant question isn't how long will box sets continue, but what will make them meaningful in the years to come. My hope is that curation will improve, prices will stabilize, and labels will focus on quality over quantity. Because when a box set is done well, it becomes a piece of art, something that enriches your relationship with the music. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Which box sets do you actually listen to? Which ones felt worth what you paid? And which ones didn't? And how do you feel about where box sets are heading? Do let me and everyone else know in the comments. I'll be back next week with something else. But that's all for this one, so I'll say bye for now and thanks for watching.